question.
Thank you. Thank you,
Could
Dr.
you mention your name?
Yes, of course. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I am Simone Misra from Microsoft in Seattle, Washington, and I'm visiting for this conference. My question is a little bit more macro, and since my visibility into India is really from far away, I've heard about litigation so far in the pharma space. So my question is, how would you compare and contrast litigation in pharma versus what's now, I hear, litigation in the high-tech space with Ericsson and Ringo? And specifically to Mr. Anand and then Mr. Parthasarathy, if you could, if you have an opinion on the question.
I think that's a very interesting question. First, to start with, let me take you back to a seminal case in Delhi called the Franz Xavier case, where the Delhi High Court, sitting in a division bench, had said that in patent cases, ex parte injunctions should not be granted. And after the Franz Xavier case, everybody thought that that was the end of injunctions, or at least interim injunctions in patent cases. But the law changed after that. And the interesting developments that took place was, in the beginning, when the DCGI clearance was expected if an application had been moved by a pharma company before the DCGI, and that news through an RTI route or through private investigations came to the notice of a patent owner, the patent owner would go to the court and try and prevent the drug from being marketed. And so before launch, he would get a status quo order. Now to that status quo order, that division bench principles didn't apply because the balance of convenience was preserved in maintaining the status quo. But that order effectively acted as an ex parte injunction in a patent matter. That was phase one. Phase two, interestingly, injunctions started getting granted because with a lot of status quo orders, and they exceeded about 25 in number in very well-known cases like for Merck and for Bristol Myers Squibb and for Pfizer and a lot of other companies, Takeda and Aventis and that's Sanofi Aventis and a host of other pharma companies. And when these orders had kind of accumulated, the next phase, some judges started to convert them into proper, full-fledged injunctions and not just status quo orders. That was the next phase. The third phase was when the Ericsson and Vringo and the other electronic battles started, and there are roughly about 4 or 5 suits in all, but they've made a lot of news and noise, I guess. Injunctions were granted in some of those cases, ex parte, but the division benches felt that instead, in lieu of the injunctions, it was better to have an interim arrangement. And earlier, the interim arrangements were a deposit of money in court based on the sales made by the defendant, pending trial, and later it was a matter of paying interim royalty by the defendant directly to the plaintiff as an interim arrangement, and accounts would be kept. And trials, of course, were expedited by the division bench in all these matters. So that's where we are. We still have the status quo orders and the injunctions in the pharma space, provided before launch. After launch, it's kind of difficult, although some cases have been decided even after launch. But after launch, the disadvantage practically is that the judge has both the products before his eyes, and so there's a price differential, and that price differential somehow drives him to look at public interest, which ideally ought not to be looked at, but is looked at in a practical world. And if it's before launch, there's no comparator, there's only the plaintiff's product, so he's kind of driven to maintain a status quo order. So it's happening a lot in the pharma space already, but I think in the electronic cases, there are the interim orders which are being passed now.
Praveen, this takeoff from Simone, in the OnePlus judgment, the divisional bench has come up very strongly against ad interim injunctions. They said that why, why can't the court, the initial court, wait for even one day for hearing the pleadings on both sides? How would you like to comment?
As you know, I was defending that
Yes.
case and we got an order in our favor because the single judge did not allow the pleadings to be completed.
Yes.
So the written statement had not been filed, the reply to the injunction application had not been filed, and there was a common party that had given contracts to OnePlus and to the plaintiff, and that common party was an American software company which had not taken a stand in court
Cyanogen.
on they had Cyanogen. They hadn't taken a stand in court by filing an affidavit. So the division bench said, complete the pleadings and rehear the injunction. So it's not as if there's been a refusal of the interim injunction, but the court said, please complete the pleadings.
Abhay, would you like to comment on Simon's?
Yeah, particularly in high tech, which is yet to come. I mean, as Mr. Anand said, there are 4 or 5 cases which have come up before the court. Some of the interim relief has come out in all in almost all of the cases. The interim injunction was also granted in few. The main issue which is going to come up would be at the level of trial. And that primarily the pleadings which contains the product to claim mapping part in the pleadings, that is something which is going to be contested, because most of the cases what we are seeing is like Ericsson cases are on the SCP, where that it's a like indirect reference to infringement has been made because the devices are following the standard, not the reading to the claims. The issue primarily would come up when the claims is to when the product is to be broken into a situation and leading to the claim. That is primarily the issue which I believe is going to be particularly in the high tech or electronic industry, which is going to come. And it's a very preliminary stage for us to